Seraphine is a young werewolf with a mysterious silver lineage, whose skin echoes the memories of past werewolves. These echoes are powerful, but unstable. Her fight isn't for love, it's for survival, identity, and rewriting a dark prophecy that threatens all packs. Kindly subscribe to Moonlit Romance Stories, turn on your notification, and stay connected to werewolf fantasy stories. Echoes, Under Silver Skin. A rejected mate's fight to rewrite her destiny. Have you ever felt like your entire world could flip in an instant? Watch as Seraphine discovers a power she never knew existed, one that could change everything. Don't blink, for every second counts. Rain slicked the neon-lit streets like molten mirrors, reflecting the chaotic pulse of the city. Seraphine's boots splashed through shallow puddles, each step echoing in the empty alleyways. The chill of the night gnawed at her skin. But it wasn't the cold that made her shiver. It was the unfamiliar markings that ran along her arms. Silver veins shimmered faintly beneath her skin, pulsing with a rhythm she could almost hear. She stopped abruptly, pressing her trembling fingers to the glowing lines. A sudden jolt of memory surged through her mind. Flashes of battles she had never fought, streets she had never walked, and voices that weren't hers whispering urgently, "Control it, or it will control you." Her chest tightened, and her heart raced. What is happening to me? Before she could gather her thoughts, a dark silhouette lunged from the shadows, silent and lethal. Her instincts screamed, but it was the silver in her veins that reacted first. Pulses of light erupted from her arms, coalescing into spectral forms, ghostly echoes of ancestral wolves, snarling and striking at the shadow with terrifying precision. The attacker froze, staggered, then vanished into the darkness, leaving nothing but the echo's fading growls. Seraphine stumbled back, her eyes wide, breathing ragged. Every nerve in her body screamed fear and exhilaration. She touched her arm again. The silver veins burned brighter, as if mocking her uncertainty. Who am I?" she whispered into the night, her voice barely audible over the soft patter of rain. The city seemed to hold its breath, waiting, watching, as if aware that something monumental had awakened. And then, a soft, almost imperceptible sound, a whisper, echoing from somewhere deep inside her, murmured her name. "Seraphine, your destiny is only beginning." She spun around, searching the darkened street, heart pounding. The shadow that attacked was gone, but a figure lingered at the far end of the alley, barely visible under the neon glow. Eyes glinting, the figure smiled knowingly, as if it had been waiting for her to awaken. And in that instant, Seraphine realized the city was no longer safe, and neither was she. The figure at the end of the alley dissolved into the neon-drenched night, but its presence lingered like a chill in Seraphine's bones. Every puddle reflected her wide-eyed stare as she pivoted, scanning the empty street. That fleeting glance confirmed what she feared most. The city was alive, with eyes that watched, waited, and hunted. She wasn't just awakening to her powers, she was awakening under surveillance. Above her, on the rooftops, masked agents of a clandestine syndicate leaned over railings, observing her every move. Their silhouettes blurred against the neon glow, but their intentions were sharp and unmistakable. Each agent carried devices that pulsed faintly, syncing with the energy radiating from her silver skin. Seraphine's heart sank. "They know," she whispered, the weight of realization pressing down on her chest. Determined not to be cornered, she sprinted down the narrow alley, silver aura flaring as flashes of memory erupted uncontrollably around her. 1 second, she was dodging a phantom spear from an echo of the past. The next, she barely avoided falling debris that seemed to manifest from her ancestors' battles. Each movement honed her control just slightly, but the echoes themselves hummed like restless ghosts, eager to break free. The syndicate agents didn't wait. They leapt from rooftop to rooftop, dropping traps, wires that sizzled with supernatural energy, automated blades spinning silently, and pulses of dark force that bent the neon lights into grotesque shapes. Seraphine's instincts, and the ghostly whispers of her ancestors, kept her one step ahead. She vaulted over a glowing trap, feeling her powers surge, silver sparks scattering into the night. Crowds below screamed as illusions of spectral wolves flashed across the wet streets, leaving the agents momentarily disoriented. For the first time, isolation sank deep into her soul. No one would protect her. No one even knew she existed. Except these hunters, these observers who treated her life as a puzzle to be solved. She stumbled onto a larger street, lights reflecting off the wet asphalt like molten silver. Her breathing was ragged, yet her eyes burned with fierce determination. I won't be their pawn. I won't be their weapon. I control this. Then, from the shadows across the street, a new figure emerged, slender, inhumanly quiet, moving with purpose. The silver aura around Seraphine pulsed violently, almost instinctively recognizing the threat. Before she could react, the figure vanished in a blink, leaving behind a single message etched into the neon-lit asphalt in glowing silver. The city watches, and you will answer. The message etched into the wet asphalt burned in Seraphine's vision. The city watches, and you will answer. Her pulse thundered, every instinct screaming that the watchers weren't mere observers. They were manipulators, predators blending seamlessly with the urban jungle. The echo of her ancestors whispered urgently in her mind. Choose wisely. The wrong alliance can consume you. She darted through the rain-slicked streets, each step throwing silver reflections into the air, the glowing markings on her arms humming in rhythm with her heartbeat. From above, shadows shifted, agents repositioning themselves, tracking her movements, anticipating her next move. The city itself seemed to bend around her, neon signs flickering like coded warnings. Then, a sudden gust of wind threw her off balance. Across the street, a figure emerged from the mist, tall and imposing. Unlike the syndicate agents, this presence radiated authority rather than malice. Kale. His dark robe flapped in the storm, eyes piercing, scanning every inch of her silver aura. He stopped a few paces away, voice calm, yet commanding. Seraphine, you're playing with powers you don't understand. Seraphine's glare met his, silver aura flaring instinctively. And who are you to tell me what I can or cannot do? She demanded. She could feel the echoes surging inside her, restless, eager to protect and attack simultaneously. Kale's eyes softened for a split second, just enough for her to sense that he knew more than he let on. A sudden screech from the rooftops shattered the moment. Syndicate agents were descending, ropes and pulleys carrying them toward her, blades glinting under the neon rain. Without hesitation, Kyle extended his hand. Together, or you won't last the night. Silver energy pulsed violently through Seraphine's veins. For the first time, she understood the power of combining instinct with strategy, legacy with the present. She leapt, dodging a trap, her silver aura shimmering, and instinctively mirrored Kale's movements. Their coordination was raw but effective, neutralizing attacks with precision that neither had anticipated. The first spark of trust forms, but it is fragile. Seraphine realizes that she may need to rely on Kale, yet every instinct tells her caution. As the last agent fell back into the shadows, a low, sinister laugh echoed through the alley. From the darkness, a new figure stepped forward, shrouded in black, eyes glowing faintly red. The figure's voice slithered across the rain-soaked street. The game begins now, and only one of you will control her destiny. The alliance is fragile, the city is alive, and the echoes are restless. Step into Seraphine's world as past and present collide, and the line between reality and memory begins to blur. You won't believe what she uncovers next. Rain dripped steadily from the neon-lit rooftops, casting fractured reflections across the streets. Seraphine and Kale moved cautiously, side by side, their breathing heavy in the cold night air. Every step was deliberate. Every shadow could conceal a syndicate agent, or worse, one of the mysterious new figures who had just appeared. Seraphine's silver marks pulsed in tandem with her heartbeat, almost like a metronome counting down to something inevitable. And then, without warning, the echoes surged. Memories not her own flooded her vision. Narrow streets of a city she'd never walked, fights she'd never fought, voices whispering warnings she couldn't ignore. Her knees buckled under the weight of centuries of ancestral battles, and for a moment, the rain-soaked streets around her dissolved into a labyrinth of ghostly images. Cale caught her arm just before she fell, grounding her in the present. "Focus," he commanded, his voice firm yet gentle. "You can't let them control you." With effort, she forced herself to step forward, letting the echoes guide her instead of overwhelming her. Walls of the alley shimmered, projecting spectral scenes of past werewolves, training, fighting, surviving. Each image pulsed like a heartbeat, and for the first time, Seraphine realized she could interact with them, absorb lessons in real time, and use them to navigate the physical world. Their movement through the city became a dance of strategy and instinct. Syndicate traps littered the streets, electrified cables, automated blades swinging silently from rooftops, and shadow-warped illusions designed to disorient. But with echoes projecting faint spectral guides in her path, Seraphine leapt, dodged, and countered with uncanny precision. Kyle followed, impressed, yet wary of how much she could control and how much she could lose if she failed. Isolation mixes with empowerment. Seraphine realizes the echoes are a gift, but a dangerous one that could consume her. The city is no longer just a backdrop. It is alive, echoing her struggles, reacting to her presence. Suddenly, the echoes twisted violently. Ghostly wolf forms erupted around her, but one had a strange, unfamiliar shape, a red-tinted shadow snarling at her from within her own memories. Cale's voice cut through the chaos. "Seraphine, that echo is not yours, and it's coming for you." As the figure lunged from the streets of memory into reality, she braced herself, realizing that her first real battle was only just beginning, and the city itself had become a battlefield she didn't yet understand. The echoes are no longer whispers, they're warnings. Seraphine's power has drawn predators, and one hunter knows how to exploit the chaos within her. Watch as the city becomes a deadly playground. Every step could be her last. The red-tinted echo lunged from the merging streets of memory into reality, its spectral jaws snapping inches from Seraphine's face. Her silver aura flared violently, a protective barrier of ancestral energy forming around her. Rain hissed as it hit the glow, steam rising in ghostly swirls. Heart-pounding, she realized this was no ordinary echo. It had intent, awareness, a hunger she had never encountered. Kyle moved swiftly, blocking another strike, his presence grounding her. "It's feeding on your fear. Don't let it control you," he shouted. But the words barely reached her as the rogue echo pressed closer, distorting reality around her. The city walls shimmered, twisting into alleys she didn't recognize, floors tilting like reflections in a funhouse mirror. Then, from the shadows above, a new threat appeared. A figure cloaked in black, moving with unnerving precision across the rooftops. The hunter. Eyes hidden behind a reflective mask, every motion deliberate, calculating. He wasn't just here to capture her, he was here to dissect her powers, to steal the silver energy coursing through her veins. Seraphine's mind raced. The echoes screamed, pushing her to act, but each action felt foreign, borrowed. With a deep breath, she drew on the largest memory of ancestral combat she had absorbed, a wolf-pack ambush from centuries ago. Spectral forms erupted around her, snarling and lunging with perfect coordination. The rogue echo faltered under the assault, retreating, but the hunter didn't hesitate. He dropped into the street in a graceful arc, dual blades gleaming in neon reflection, cutting through the ghostly wolves with surgical precision. Panic clashes with exhilaration. Seraphine realizes that her powers are incredible, but they are dangerous, unpredictable, and prey for others. The isolation she felt before deepens. She is alone against enemies who understand her far better than she understands herself. The chase exploded into the crowded streets. Spectral wolves collided with neon-lit stalls and startled pedestrians, the hunter moving with deadly calm. Seraphine leapt, her silver aura trailing like molten light, narrowly avoiding swinging blades and glowing traps rigged to subdue her energy. Every instinct, every echo-guided maneuver kept her alive, but it was a dance on the razor's edge. As she vaulted over a neon-soaked dumpster, the hunter's voice cut through the chaos, distorted and eerily calm. "You're extraordinary, but I'll have what's mine." A sudden pulse from her silver marks erupted outward, sending shards of energy into the surrounding street, and the hunter vanished, leaving only a smoldering, twisted shadow where he once stood. Seraphine landed, panting, realization dawning on her. He's not just hunting her, he's testing her, and the real game has only just begun. What happens when power becomes a prison? Seraphine's abilities are growing, but so is the danger within her own mind. Watch as the line between self and echo begins to fracture, and the city becomes a mirror of her chaos. The hunter had vanished, but his shadow lingered in Seraphine's mind, like a dark echo she couldn't shake. Every heartbeat felt amplified, every breath a countdown. Her silver marks glimmered erratically, pulsing with memories she couldn't control. The echoes, ancestral voices, wolf spirits, flashes of battles long past, collided violently inside her consciousness, each demanding attention, guidance, dominance. She stumbled through the rain-slicked streets, her aura flickering, spectral wolves appearing and vanishing at random. Pedestrians screamed as ghostly claws tore through air near their feet. Seraphine's panic escalated. Her own body felt like a battlefield she couldn't escape. "Control, control," she whispered. But the echoes had other plans, pushing her forward, backward, twisting her perception of the street into a shifting maze of light and shadow. Kale appeared just in time, grabbing her arm and anchoring her to reality. "Seraphine, focus on me. You are not them." His words cut through the chaotic flood, grounding her briefly. She gasped, eyes wide, trying to distinguish her thoughts from the centuries of memory that clawed at her mind. Yet even as she breathed, a red-tinted echo, rogue, angry, and relentless, slithered through her consciousness, whispering, "You are mine. Let me out." The city itself responded to her turmoil. Neon signs flickered violently, puddles shimmered with ghostly reflections of battles she had never fought, and shadows on the walls twisted unnaturally, forming snarling, spectral wolves. Each step she took risked triggering another uncontrolled projection, another wave of chaos. Her body moved with inhuman agility, dodging unseen obstacles, but her mind faltered, questioning if the person in control was really her at all. Fear and frustration consume her. She is learning the cost of power. The more she uses it, the more the echoes threaten to override her own identity. Isolation deepens. Kyle can anchor her temporarily, but ultimately, she is fighting herself as much as her enemies. Then, from the corner of her vision, a familiar silhouette emerged. The hunter. He didn't attack. He watched, a predator patient and calculating, waiting to see if she would break. Seraphine's silver aura flared violently, her mind fragmenting further, spectral wolves clashing violently around her. She could barely recognize her own reflection in the puddles. Suddenly, one rogue echo lunged fully into reality, merging with her body in a flash of silver and red. Pain, shock, and a voice that wasn't hers screamed inside her head. "You will belong to us. All of you." Seraphine collapsed to one knee, gasping as Kale shouted her name. She had survived, but the question now hung in the rain-slicked streets. How much of Seraphine was still truly Seraphine? Survival isn't enough anymore. Seraphine's powers have drawn attention from forces she doesn't yet understand. Watch as the city's hidden underworld reveals secrets and allies she may not be able to trust. The rain had slowed to a steady drizzle, but the city streets still gleamed like molten glass, reflecting every neon sign in distorted splinters. Seraphine struggled to her feet, her body trembling from the rogue echo's violent intrusion. Kale's hands hovered near hers, steadying her, grounding her, but even his presence couldn't fully anchor her spiraling senses. "Stay close," he warned, his eyes scanning the rooftops and alleys. "We're not alone. And whatever we think is chasing you isn't the only danger tonight. Before Seraphine could respond, a faint, melodic chime echoed from beneath a storm-drained manhole cover. Kyle gestured, and together they descended into the city's underbelly, a labyrinth of abandoned tunnels and forgotten maintenance corridors, pulsating faintly with the hum of hidden life. The underground network revealed itself slowly. Spectral graffiti glimmered on the walls, illuminated by faint bioluminescent markings, while shadowed figures watched silently from elevated platforms. These weren't syndicate agents. They moved with fluid grace, humanoid but enhanced, whispers of silver energy trailing their hands. Seraphine's aura flared instinctively, sensing both caution and curiosity radiating from them. One figure stepped forward, a woman cloaked in dark silk, her eyes glinting silver like shards of moonlight. "You carry the echoes," she said, voice calm yet heavy with authority. "And everyone here knows what that means." Seraphine's heart raced. Could these be allies, or another trap? As the woman guided them deeper, Seraphine began to realize the true scale of the underground network. Walls shifted as if alive, corridors twisting and bending, creating illusions and hidden chambers where beings with unnatural powers trained, bargained, and plotted. Ghostly echoes of past wolves resonated through the tunnels, responding to Seraphine's presence. For the first time, she felt recognized. But recognition came with a price. Her every step triggered hidden tests, traps that mirrored her rogue echo's chaos above ground, designed to probe her control, her morality, her very instincts. Neon glyphs ignited beneath her feet, spectral projections lunging, demanding obedience or collapse. She moved like water, dodging and weaving, drawing on her ancestral memories, yet each success left her feeling further fragmented. Awe and curiosity clash with fear. Seraphine discovers potential allies, but she must navigate hidden dangers and moral tests, realizing the underground is as treacherous as the streets above. Finally, the woman stopped at an archway, etched with glowing silver symbols. "You've done well, but the real trial begins now," she whispered. From the shadows behind the arch, dozens of figures stepped forward, their eyes glinting, weapons and powers ready. Seraphine's silver marks pulsed violently as the echoes screamed in unison. "You are not ready." Kyle gripped her shoulder. "Whatever happens next, we fight together, or we fall alone." And in that instant, Seraphine realized that the underground wasn't sanctuary. It was a crucible. Power has a history, and history has a price. Watch as Seraphine uncovers secrets buried for centuries. But the deeper she goes, the more dangerous the truths become. Can she survive knowledge meant to break her? The archway before Seraphine shimmered with silver glyphs, and the crowd of figures behind it parted like a tide revealing a hidden treasure or a trap. Kale tightened his grip on her shoulder, eyes scanning every shadowed corner. "Stay close. Don't trust appearances," he warned. Beyond the arch lay a cavernous chamber, walls lined with ancient murals that pulsed with faint light. They depicted battles, rituals, and wolf spirits that seemed almost alive. Silver echoes of past warriors shimmered in midair, replaying moments of triumph and defeat. Seraphine's breath caught in her throat. This was more than history. This was memory etched into stone, and it spoke directly to her silver-marked veins. As she stepped closer, the murals shifted subtly, forming sequences she could feel in her blood, whispering lessons of strategy, combat, and ancestral instinct. One panel drew her attention, a wolf pack surrounding a luminous figure, glowing eyes, silver markings identical to hers, leading them against unseen foes. A chill ran down her spine. Could this be me, centuries ago, or a prophecy of what I might become? Her fingers hovered over a glowing glyph embedded in the wall, and when she touched it, visions exploded across the chamber. Battles fought in alleys she now recognized, sacrifices she hadn't witnessed, echoes of rogue entities she had never met. She staggered, overwhelmed by the depth of knowledge and the raw power it hinted at. Kyle's voice cut through her spiraling senses. This archive, It's alive. It's testing you. Learn fast, or it will consume you. As she concentrated, the rogue red-tinted echo from before surged again, drawn inexplicably to this chamber. It lunged at her spectral projections, distorting the murals, warping history into chaos. The ancestral wolves responded violently, but the echo pressed relentlessly. Seraphine had to summon every ounce of control she had, focusing on the rhythm of her silver veins, bending the echoes to her will without letting them dominate. Awe and fear mix. Seraphine recognizes her lineage and potential, but she also feels the crushing responsibility of power she barely understands. Every memory carries lessons and warnings. Then, from the shadows of the chamber, a new figure emerged. A tall, hooded wolf spirit, glowing faintly silver, its eyes reflecting both menace and curiosity. "You've awakened fully," it said, voice echoing as if through centuries. "But power without mastery will destroy everything you love." The rogue echo lunged again, but this time it merged with part of the chamber itself, twisting reality around her. The murals screamed, walls bent, and the floor seemed to split. Seraphine clutched Kyle's arm, silver marks flaring violently. The wolf spirit's voice echoed one final warning. One step further, and there is no turning back. Seraphine's gaze hardened. She realized that to survive, and to control her destiny, she would have to confront the echoes fully, or risk becoming one herself. Power temps. Choices bind. Seraphine stands at the crossroads of destiny. One path offers ultimate strength, the other could destroy her soul. Watch as every decision she makes pushes her closer to danger and revelation. The chamber of the living archive shuddered, its murals rippling like water as the rogue echo writhed against Seraphine's control. The silver wolf spirit hovered, radiating both authority and caution. Kale gripped her arm, steadying her, yet the tension in his eyes mirrored her own turmoil. "This is it," he whispered. "They're testing you, not just your power, but your judgment." Suddenly, a holographic figure shimmered into existence at the center of the chamber. A commanding, cloaked individual, their presence radiating authority and menace. "Seraphine," the figure's voice reverberated through the walls. "You can join us. Accept our guidance, and the echoes will obey you fully. Refuse, and you'll be hunted relentlessly until nothing remains of what you are." The choice hit her like a tidal wave. Power, control, knowledge. Everything she had struggled to understand in these nights of chaos was suddenly within reach, but at a cost she couldn't quantify. Her hands trembled, silver energy sparking across her veins as the echoes surged, sensing the weight of her indecision. Some pushed her toward acceptance, promising mastery. Others recoiled, whispering warnings, painting visions of devastation should she yield. Kyle's voice broke through the cacophony. "Don't let them manipulate you. The city, the syndicate, the underground, they all want to use you. Decide who you are, not what they want you to be." Her eyes scanned the murals, the rogue echo, the wolf spirit, the glowing glyphs embedded in the walls. Each element seemed to demand a choice, a test she couldn't ignore. And in that moment, she understood. This wasn't merely about power, it was about identity. Accepting guidance meant surrendering part of herself. Rejecting it risked death or worse, losing control to the rogue echoes that now writhed violently around her, merging with the chamber like liquid fire. Fear, empowerment, and moral responsibility collide. Seraphine must make a life-defining choice, one that will shape not just her destiny, but the balance of power in the city itself. With a deep inhale, she made her decision. Energy pulsed from her silver veins, brighter and purer than ever. The rogue echoes screamed in protest, but she stood firm. She would not be used, she would not be controlled. Before she could fully absorb her triumph, the chamber shook violently. A deep, guttural roar echoed from the streets above. The murals twisted, revealing a shadowy figure she did not recognize, standing amidst burning rooftops, eyes glowing red, power radiating like a storm. "Your choice has consequences, little wolf, and I am coming for you." the voice growled. Seraphine's heart raced. The city above had just become the next battlefield, and this time, the stakes were far higher than she had imagined. The city itself becomes a battlefield. Seraphine's choice has ignited chaos, and every street is alive with danger. Watch as powers clash, allies rise, and enemies strike in a neon-lit war that leaves nothing untouched. The roar echoed across the rain-soaked rooftops, vibrating through the walls of the living archive and into Seraphine's bones. Her silver marks pulsed violently, each beat in sync with her racing heartbeat. Kale gripped her arm, eyes narrowing toward the ceiling where shadows shifted unnaturally. "It's him, the one we didn't anticipate," he muttered, "and he's bringing the city down with him." As they emerged from the underground tunnels, the streets above were unrecognizable. Neon signs flickered in panic, puddles reflected burning debris, and crowds fled blindly into the chaos. Figures cloaked in shadows surged forward, supernatural energy crackling around them. Agents, rogue echoes, and something older, something far more dangerous. The figure from the rooftops descended into the center of the street, a towering presence, eyes blazing red, aura like a storm, power radiating in waves. Seraphine's silver energy flared in response. The rogue echoes within her stirred, howling, forming spectral wolves that lunged at the figure, yet he swatted them aside effortlessly, a grin cutting across his face. "You've grown stronger," he said, voice low and thunderous, "but the city will burn before you stand unchallenged." With no time to hesitate, Seraphine leapt forward, silver aura flaring, spectral wolves darting in every direction, taking down traps and agents alike. Kale mirrored her moves, a lethal combination of precision and instinct. They dodged flaming debris, spectral blades, and supernatural energy bursts, weaving through streets crowded with terrified civilians and chaotic illusions. Panic, exhilaration, and the thrill of near-impossible survival. Seraphine realizes her powers are immense, but so is the cost. The city itself bends against her enemies and her own inner echoes. Every action matters. Every choice could be fatal. Then, in a flash, the figure raised one hand. A pulse of red energy exploded outward, distorting reality. Buildings bent, asphalt cracked, and the spectral wolves were hurled back violently. Seraphine hit the ground hard, pain shooting through her arms, silver marks flaring uncontrollably. Kale shouted her name, struggling to reach her amidst the chaos. The figure's voice echoed, taunting and sinister. "This is only the beginning. Streets burn, alliances fracture. And soon, you'll learn what it truly means to wield power." As the city burned around her, a faint glow appeared above the chaos. Another figure, cloaked in silver light, descending silently from a nearby rooftop. Seraphine squinted, heart hammering. She didn't recognize this new presence, yet instinctively she felt a flicker of hope. Or was it a trap? The street held its breath, the rain hissed on the burning pavement, and in that instant, she realized the true war for the city and for her destiny was only beginning. The city burns, but a new light appears. Seraphine's path grows more dangerous and more mysterious. Watch as allies emerge, secrets unravel, and the dawn brings revelations that could change everything. Smoke and rain hung thick over the streets, turning neon reflections into blurred streaks of color. Seraphine struggled to her knees, silver marks flaring erratically, pain and exhaustion mixing with the adrenaline coursing through her veins. Kale steadied her, eyes scanning the burning blocks around them. "We need to move," he said. "Now." Above the chaos, the new figure descended silently, silver light trailing in a mesmerizing arc. Her presence seemed to absorb the energy of the storm, calming the chaotic echoes and rogue spirits that had erupted moments ago. Seraphine blinked, awe and suspicion warring within her. The figure landed gracefully, gaze locking onto Seraphine. "I've come to guide you," the stranger said, voice serene, yet commanding. "The city isn't just a battleground. It's a reflection of what you must become." Seraphine hesitated. Every instinct screamed caution, yet the echoes within her seemed to respond, pulsing in harmony with the newcomer's aura. Kyle's hand tightened on her shoulder. "Trust is earned, not given," he muttered, eyes sharp. The silver-cloaked figure gestured toward the far end of the street. The chaos had created a narrow path through the burning neon-lit streets, revealing a massive glowing glyph etched into the asphalt, a portal of sorts. "Through here lies the first key to controlling your echoes," the stranger explained. "But beware, the syndicate, the hunter, and your rogue echoes will test every step." Taking a deep breath, Seraphine stepped forward, her aura flaring brightly as spectral wolves manifested to guide her path. Shadows lurked at the edge of vision, remnants of the hunter's forces, but the silver stranger's presence seemed to neutralize the immediate threat. Still, the weight of the city's destruction pressed heavily on her chest. Each step was a battle between instinct and control, empowerment and cautious hope. Seraphine experiences her first tangible sense of guidance, but the dangers surrounding her remind her that trust is a fragile commodity. As they approached the glowing glyph, a low, guttural growl echoed from the debris-strewn streets behind them. The hunter emerged, eyes blazing, rage and calculation intertwined. He wasn't alone. Shadowy figures twisted from the rogue echoes joined him, snarling, moving unnaturally fast. Before Seraphine could react, the silver-cloaked stranger extended her hand, releasing a pulse of energy that threw the hunter and his forces back. "We'll deal with them later," she said, voice sharp. Then, turning to Seraphine, she whispered, "Once you step through this glyph, there is no turning back. Your echoes will choose your fate, and so will the city." Seraphine's gaze fixed on the swirling silver portal, heart racing. The rain hissed on the glowing pavement, spectral wolves growled, and the city seemed to hold its breath. She knew the next step would define her, and that failure was no longer an option. The portal isn't just a gateway, it's a trial. Seraphine must confront her echoes, her fears, and the hidden threats stalking her. Watch as the city becomes a reflection of her inner turmoil, and every step could be her last. Seraphine's pulse raced as she stepped closer to the swirling silver glyph on the asphalt. The rain hissed beneath her boots, steam rising as the neon glow from the burning city reflected off puddles. Her silver marks throbbed in harmony with the glyph, pulsing brighter with every heartbeat. Kyle stayed close, tense and alert, his eyes scanning the shadows where remnants of the hunter's forces lingered. The silver-cloaked guide extended a hand toward the portal. "Once inside, the echoes decide the trials," she warned. "You'll confront every fragment of power, every suppressed memory, and every choice you've tried to ignore. Only control yourself fully, or be lost to them." Taking a deep breath, Seraphine placed her foot on the glyph. The city's chaos seemed to freeze around her. Flames flickered in midair, shadows held their positions, and the spectral wolves surrounding her tensed. Then the portal swallowed her in a blinding swirl of silver light. The streets vanished. She found herself in a surreal cityscape, a mirror of her own reality, yet fractured. Buildings twisted impossibly, reflections of alleys she had never seen shimmered in puddles that weren't there, and the red-tinted rogue echo prowled through the streets like a predator. Her own silver aura flared violently as echoes of herself. Different versions, fragments of memories and potential futures, appeared, circling, testing, judging. Confusion and fear collide. Seraphine realizes that controlling her power isn't just about combat. It's about mastering the fragments of herself and the echoes that threaten to consume her identity. The rogue echo lunged, morphing into grotesque shapes, blending parts of the city and spectral wolves into itself. Seraphine's instincts took over. She moved fluidly, silver energy streaming from her veins, summoning her ancestral wolves to block and counterattack. Each clash of energy twisted reality around her, streets folding like paper, neon signs flickering with every heartbeat. Kale's voice echoed through the portal, distant but grounding. "Focus on your center, Seraphine. Your power isn't just what you wield, it's who you are." She clenched her fists, drawing all fragments of her being into one concentrated pulse. Silver light erupted, forming a protective sphere that repelled the rogue echo, stabilizing the warped streets for a brief moment. The echoes within her quieted, almost reverently, waiting. Then, a shadow fell across the cityscape. Immense, impossible, and unmistakably human. The hunter appeared, his red eyes gleaming, but this time, he wasn't attacking. Instead, he extended one hand toward her and spoke, voice echoing like thunder. Impressive, but your next choice will define whether you survive the portal of echoes, or become part of it forever. Seraphine froze, heart pounding. Every spectral fragment, every echo, every lesson in her veins screamed in unison. You cannot fail. The cityscape trembled around her, and she realized that the real test had just begun. In the portal of echoes, reality fractures, and so does identity. Watch as Seraphine faces versions of herself she never knew existed, and the line between friend, enemy, and echo blurs dangerously. The cityscape within the portal quaked violently, streets folding over themselves like shattered glass. Seraphine's silver aura flared in defiance, casting brilliant reflections on the warped neon buildings. Around her, echoes of herself multiplied, some identical, some distorted, some bearing red-tinted streaks like the rogue echo that had haunted her since the streets first erupted. Each version mirrored a choice, a fear, or a potential future, and each challenged her control. The hunter's presence loomed large, red eyes fixed on her, yet he stayed deliberately passive, observing. His hand extended, almost inviting, almost mocking. You'll have to fight yourself before you can fight me. Seraphine's heart pounded. Every instinct screamed to strike, yet attacking the echoes risked losing herself to them. The spectral wolves around her snarled, sensing the internal turmoil, forming a shifting barrier as fragments of herself lunged. Each confrontation was an intense mental duel. She felt the pulse of her ancestors urging her forward, whispering strategies through flashes of memory and instinct. Fear, self-doubt, and determination collide. Seraphine realizes the battle isn't just physical, it's existential. Every fragment of herself must be acknowledged, understood, and integrated, or she will be consumed. The rogue red-tinted echo surged from the shadows of a twisted alleyway, merging with one of her distorted self-fragments. Silver energy clashed with red in violent arcs, lighting the warped cityscape like lightning. Seraphine's power roared to life, sending shockwaves through the portal. Neon reflections shattered into shards, each fragment holding a memory, a warning, or a temptation. Kyle's voice echoed faintly. Seraphine, embrace them, don't destroy them. You control your echoes, they don't control you. Summoning every ounce of focus, she reached inward, touching each fragment of herself, allowing the rogue echo to merge temporarily without resistance. A brilliant surge of silver light enveloped her, stabilizing the cityscape as the rogue echo hissed in frustrated retreat. The hunter's grin widened, approving but dangerous. Then, the portal trembled violently. A massive fissure tore through the warped streets, and a voice, deep, ancient, and thunderous, boomed. She has awakened, but the final reflection awaits. From the fissure, a colossal figure emerged, larger than any human or wolf, its form a terrifying combination of Seraphine's ancestral echoes and unknown power. Silver and red energy pulsed violently from its body, and the hunter's eyes glinted with anticipation. This is your true trial. Only one will walk out alive. Seraphine's breath caught. The portal of echoes had just revealed its ultimate challenge, and she realized that her destiny, her powers, and her identity were all about to be tested to the breaking point. The echoes have taken form, and the ultimate challenge stands before her. Watch as Seraphine battles not just power, but destiny itself. Every strike, every choice could define her future, or erase it entirely. The colossal figure towered over the warped streets, its body a terrifying fusion of red-tinted rogue echoes and silver ancestral forms. Every pulse of its energy sent shockwaves through the cityscape within the portal, twisting streets, folding buildings, and scattering spectral fragments across the glowing neon alleys. Seraphine's silver marks blazed fiercely, her heart pounding with adrenaline and fear. Kale's voice echoed through the chaos. Remember, it mirrors you. Every hesitation, every doubt, strengthens it. Control your center, Seraphine, or it will consume you. The Colossus roared, a sound that rattled the air and shattered illusions simultaneously. Silver claws swung with inhuman speed, aiming to crush her. She leapt, spectral wolves materializing to intercept, energy crashing against the monstrous amalgamation. Every blow she struck was a test of precision and control. One misstep could fracture her connection to her own echoes. Terror and determination intertwine. Seraphine realizes that her strength isn't measured by raw power, but by mastery of herself. Fear threatens to paralyze her, but instinct and ancestral guidance push her forward. The Colossus's attacks intensified. Streets warped underfoot, gravity fluctuated, and rogue echoes surged violently, attacking in chaotic bursts. Seraphine drew deeply from the silver energy within her veins, merging her fragmented echoes temporarily into cohesive wolves that darted, countered, and protected. The Colossus staggered, a bellow of frustration erupting from its massive form. Kyle shouted above the chaos, pointing toward the fissure from which the Colossus had emerged. It's linked to that breach. Hit it together. Focus your echoes on one point. Seraphine closed her eyes for a fraction of a second, centering herself. She synchronized her aura, spectral wolves, and rogue echoes into a single concentrated pulse. A beam of pure silver energy erupted, striking the Colossus squarely in its chest. The creature screamed, a spine-chilling fusion of red and silver shrieks, as the portal itself convulsed violently. The Colossus fractured into thousands of fragments, which swirled violently around Seraphine before being sucked back into the fissure. Just as the portal seemed to stabilize, a dark, shadowed hand reached from the fissure, gripping her ankle. A voice, distorted and thunderous, echoed in her mind. You may have survived, but survival is not victory. The city, and your echoes, will demand more than you can imagine. Seraphine's body tensed, silver aura flaring violently. The cityscape quaked one last time before stilling, and she realized that even after defeating the Colossus, her journey had only just entered its deadliest phase. The battle within may be over, but the war outside has only begun. Seraphine's survival has drawn the attention of a predator who knows her every weakness. Watch as the hunter returns, and the city itself becomes a deadly trap. The fissure within the portal had sealed, or so it seemed, but the silver glow of her mark still pulsed erratically, a lingering resonance of the Colossus's energy. Seraphine steadied herself, taking in the surreal neon streets that now seemed eerily calm, almost deceptive. Kale remained at her side, tense, scanning shadows for the slightest movement. Then a low hum echoed through the alleyways. A chill raced up her spine as the air thickened, vibrating with intent. From the darkness emerged the hunter, his red eyes blazing with a predatory intensity that made even the rogue echoes shiver in instinctive fear. But he wasn't alone. Shadowed figures, twisted by echoes yet loyal to him, emerged from the ruined streets, moving with deadly precision. Fear, tension, and urgency collide. Seraphine realizes that even her recent victories have only escalated the danger. Her triumph in the portal has marked her as a target. The hunter's gaze locked on her. You've grown, he said, voice low and deliberate. But I've learned too. And tonight the city itself will remind you, no silver wolf can escape destiny. Seraphine's aura flared, spectral wolves forming around her in defensive formation. She launched herself forward, energy lancing through the wet streets, forcing back the first wave of shadowed agents. Kyle followed, slicing through debris and illusions with precision. Neon signs flickered violently, puddles hissed under surging energy, and the city seemed alive, reacting to every clash. The hunter's movements were mesmerizing, fluid, precise, almost like dancing with death. Each strike tested her control, Each dodge challenged her instincts. Rogue echoes, sensing weakness, slithered from shadows, blending into his attacks, forcing Seraphine to fight both external and internal threats simultaneously. Tension and exhilaration heighten. Seraphine's mastery over her powers is pushed to the limits, but the hunter's cunning reminds her that raw strength alone won't be enough. Suddenly, the hunter stopped mid-stride, tilting his head as if listening to something unseen. He smiled, unnervingly calm. "You think you've learned control, little wolf," he said, "but the city has a secret. One that will break your trust, your strength, and everything you thought you knew." Before Seraphine could react, a massive tremor shook the streets. A new fissure erupted nearby, glowing with an eerie red and silver energy, and shadowed forms began rising from it, more twisted and powerful than anything she had faced. The hunter's grin widened. "Welcome to the next stage, and your real test begins now." Seraphine's silver aura blazed brighter than ever, spectral wolves snarling, as she realized that the city, the hunter, and the echoes were all conspiring together, and escape was no longer an option. The city bleeds power, and the fissure grows. Seraphine's every step sparks chaos, and the hunter's ultimate plan unfolds. Watch as neon streets erupt into supernatural warfare, and the true cost of her powers is revealed. The fissure in the street pulsed violently, casting red and silver light across the rain-soaked city. Shadows twisted unnaturally, and rogue echoes emerged like phantoms from the glowing crack, their forms jagged and aggressive. Seraphine's silver marks burned brighter than ever, a desperate pulse against the growing chaos. Kale tightened his grip on her arm. "This is it. Hold yourself together, Seraphine. Every fragment of you matters now." The hunter moved like a predator in perfect harmony with the fissure, his red eyes gleaming as he manipulated the rogue echoes. Each attack felt calculated to exploit weaknesses, not just in her power, but in her mind. Neon signs flickered violently, puddles boiled as energy struck the asphalt, and spectral wolves lunged at rogue echoes that twisted unnaturally into massive, jagged forms. Fear and adrenaline surge. Seraphine realizes the fissure isn't just a physical threat. It's a manifestation of all the chaos within her own echoes, amplified by the hunter's manipulations. Every misstep risks losing control over herself and the city. She focused inward, centering on her ancestral memories, letting silver energy surge through her veins in synchronization with spectral wolves. The rogue echoes screamed and recoiled as a brilliant pulse of silver light struck them, stabilizing a small portion of the streets. But the fissure responded, growing, pulsating like a living wound in the city. Kale shouted, pointing to a massive shard of red and silver energy emerging from the fissure. "That's the core. If you destroy it, maybe we can collapse the fissure, but it's feeding on you too." Seraphine's hands flared with power. She hesitated only a heartbeat before focusing every ounce of her energy, pushing against the fissure. Rogue echoes lunged, the hunter's grin widening as he circled her like a hawk. Her aura collided with the core, silver and red battling violently, sparks of neon light splintering the street like glass. Determination peaks. Seraphine understands that controlling her power means accepting the danger within herself. Every pulse of energy could heal the city, or obliterate it. Suddenly, the core exploded outward, hurling Seraphine into the air. She landed hard, silver aura flaring, spectral wolves snarling defensively. The hunter's voice boomed across the chaos. "You've done well, but the fissure has chosen its champion. Step forward, Seraphine, or everything you love burns." From the glowing red and silver fissure, a monstrous form began emerging, one that pulsed with both rogue echo energy and ancestral power. Seraphine's breath caught. This wasn't just a fight, it was a reckoning. The fissure is alive, and its heart calls to Seraphine. Watch as she faces the ultimate convergence of power, echoes, and destiny, where every choice could fracture her reality forever. The red and silver fissure pulsed like a living wound in the heart of the city, casting grotesque reflections across shattered neon streets. Seraphine's silver marks throbbed violently, responding to the fissure's energy, as if the city itself were tethered to her very being. Spectral wolves snarled, leaping to intercept rogue echoes that surged from the fissure's depths. Kyle stood beside her, tense and alert, eyes scanning the chaotic battlefield. "This is it," Kyle shouted over the roar of energy. "The heart of the fissure. Destroy it, stabilize it, or it'll consume everything." The hunter emerged from the chaos, moving with unnerving precision. "You've come far, little wolf," he said, red eyes glowing. "But the heart of the fissure isn't just a threat. It's a reflection of you. Can you control it? Or will it control you?" Seraphine stepped closer, aura blazing, spectral wolves at her side. Every step toward the fissure caused the rogue echoes to surge violently, twisting reality around her. Streets bent, buildings warped, and neon signs flickered in distorted rhythms. Yet amidst the chaos, the silver-cloaked guide's presence lingered like a tether, a calm pulse in the storm, urging her forward. Determination and fear intermingle. Seraphine realizes that her power is intrinsically tied to the fissure. It tests not just her strength, but her identity, her morality, and her ability to unify fragmented echoes. She extended her hands, channeling every fragment of her ancestral energy, every controlled rogue echo, and every spectral wolf into a single focused pulse. The fissure quaked violently, tendrils of red and silver energy lashing outward, testing her focus, clawing at her mind, whispering threats and visions of despair. Kyle's voice cut through the chaos. "Remember, control isn't domination, it's balance." Seraphine gritted her teeth, letting the echoes merge with her will instead of fighting them. Light surged, and the fissure writhed as if alive, resisting, yet yielding slowly to her determination. The hunter's grin widened, admiration mingled with malice. Just as the fissure seemed to stabilize under her control, the ground beneath her cracked, and from the heart of the fissure rose a massive, humanoid figure, made entirely of rogue echoes and ancestral silver energy, pulsating with intent. Its eyes locked onto her, and a voice boomed within her mind. "At last, the wolf who seeks to command the echoes, meet your trial." Seraphine's heart raced. The spectral wolves growled, silver marks flaring violently, and she realized that the true test of power and survival was about to begin in earnest. The echoes collide. The fissure pulses. Seraphine faces a force that mirrors her power, her fears, and the weight of the city itself. Watch as inner and outer worlds collide in a battle that will decide her fate and the fate of everyone around her. The humanoid figure emerging from the heart of the fissure towered over Seraphine, its body a shifting amalgamation of silver ancestral energy and jagged rogue echoes. Every pulse of its massive frame sent shockwaves through the fractured streets, splintering asphalt, and sending shards of neon light scattering into the rain. Spectral wolves leaped in defense, howling as their silver forms clashed with the creature's red-tinted shadows. Kyle's voice rang in her ears. "This is it. Every fragment you've faced, every choice you've made, it all leads here. Control your echoes or be consumed." The colossus-like figure lunged, and Seraphine met it with a synchronized surge of power, merging her spectral wolves, rogue echoes, and ancestral energy into one cohesive strike. The impact sent a ripple through the portal cityscape, distorting streets, folding buildings, and warping reality around them. Panic, exhilaration, and determination surge. Seraphine realizes this is the ultimate test of her mastery, forcing her to confront the full scale of her power, her fears, and her identity simultaneously. The figure retaliated, splitting into multiple mirror images, each one mimicking her own movements and abilities. Every dodge, every attack required split-second precision. Rogue echoes twisted into grotesque forms, spectral wolves barked in alarm, and the city itself seemed alive, responding to the clash with quaking streets and flickering neon. Kyle shouted, "Focus on your center, Seraphine. Every echo is a tool, not a threat." Drawing on the lessons of the Living Archive and the Silver Dawn, Seraphine allowed herself to feel each fragment of her being, merging them into a single, harmonious pulse. Her aura exploded in blinding silver, synchronized with the spectral wolves as she launched a concentrated beam of energy directly at the core of the humanoid figure. The echoes screamed, reality bent, and the fissure itself seemed to groan in response. The humanoid shattered, but instead of dissipating, its fragments swirled violently around Seraphine, forming a vortex that threatened to pull her in. From the eye of the vortex, a distorted, echoing voice whispered, "You've controlled some, but the final choice is yours. Will the city live, or will the echoes consume it all?" Seraphine's silver marks flared to their maximum, spectral wolves snarling and circling protectively. She realized that the next moment would define the fate of the city, her echoes, and herself. The echoes have reached their peak. Seraphine's choices, power, and destiny converge in a climactic showdown. Watch as the city trembles and the fate of every soul hangs on the edge of her silver aura. The vortex of rogue echoes spun violently around Seraphine, warping the neon-lit streets into surreal angles and impossible landscapes. Spectral wolves darted around her, snarling, teeth flashing silver, as fragments of her past battles and memories collided with the rogue echoes, creating a cacophony of energy and sound. Kale's voice rang in her ears, sharp and urgent. "Control it, Seraphine! Every echo is yours to command. Don't let it consume you." The distorted humanoid form from the fissure's heart coalesced again, larger and more imposing, its red-tinted rogue energy merging with her ancestral echoes into a terrifying spectacle of power. It mirrored her every movement, predicting her strikes, twisting reality around each clash. Neon reflections shattered as energy slammed through streets, rain hissed on molten asphalt, and the city itself seemed to pulse with the fight. Fear, exhilaration, and empowerment collide. Seraphine realizes this battle is no longer just physical. It is the test of her mastery, identity, and her ability to unify every fragment of her being. She reached inward, letting silver energy flow through every vein, merging her spectral wolves, rogue echoes, and ancestral fragments into a cohesive force. She felt the echoes responding, resonating with her intent rather than chaos. The humanoid recoiled slightly, sensing the unprecedented harmony within her. Kale shouted, "Now, Seraphine, focus on the center of the vortex." Summoning all her energy, she projected a massive pulse of silver light directly into the vortex, targeting the core where rogue and ancestral energy intertwined. Reality bent violently, fragments of streets, buildings, and echoes swirling into a singular point of blinding brilliance. The humanoid form screamed, the echoes shrieked, and the fissure quaked like the heartbeat of the city itself. As the pulse reached its peak, Seraphine felt herself being pulled toward the center of the vortex. A voice echoed within her mind, familiar yet terrifying. "The choice is yours. Control the echoes and live, or let them consume the city in your soul." Silver energy flared around her, spectral wolves circling protectively, the neon city trembling beneath her. She knew that the final decision, her ultimate act of mastery, was seconds away, and everything she had fought for hung in the balance. The echoes converge, the fissure trembles, and Seraphine stands at the edge of destiny. Watch as the final battle decides not just her fate, but the future of the city, her power, and every soul bound to her legacy. The vortex screamed like a living storm, silver and red energy spiraling in violent arcs. Seraphine hovered at its heart, every muscle straining, silver marks searing against her skin. Spectral wolves encircled her, their howls merging into a single resonant cry that shook the fractured cityscape. The humanoid echo form surged one last time, its body twisting into a colossal shadow that threatened to engulf her completely. Kale's voice pierced the chaos. "This is your choice, Seraphine. Dominate it or balance it. Either way, this decides everything." Her breath came ragged, but her resolve hardened. Domination meant destruction, obliterating rogue echoes, possibly collapsing the city itself. Balance meant acceptance, risking herself to merge every echo, rogue and ancestral, into a unified whole. For a heartbeat, fear clawed at her chest. But then she remembered every step, every fight, every fragment of herself she had faced. She opened her arms wide. Instead of striking, she let the echoes in. The rogue voices screamed, spectral wolves snarled, ancestral fragments pulsed. But she did not push them away. She embraced them, drawing every discordant fragment into her silver light. The vortex exploded. Light engulfed the streets, tearing through neon signs, raining shards of brilliance across the city. Seraphine felt herself dissolving into the echoes, her body and soul merging with the energy around her. For a terrifying second, she was nothing but light and memory. Then, with a thunderous crack, the fissure collapsed inward, sealing shut with a radiant shockwave. Silence. The city's rain returned, streets slick but steady. The neon glow stabilized. Seraphine floated back to the ground, her silver marks glowing faintly but no longer searing. Around her, spectral wolves padded quietly, their forms calmer, harmonized. The echoes within her had stilled, not silenced, but balanced. Kyle approached, eyes wide with awe. "You did it. You didn't just fight the echoes. You became their master." Before she could respond, the hunter's voice drifted from the shadows, smooth and cold. "Impressive. But balance is fragile, little wolf, and in this city, fragility never lasts." His red eyes gleamed, then vanished into the neon dark streets. Seraphine tightened her fists, silver aura flickering. The battle was won, but the war was far from over. For the first time, though, she wasn't afraid. She had faced the echoes and ascended. The city pulsed softly around her, as if it too now breathed in rhythm with her power. Seraphine whispered into the rain-soaked night, "Let them come. I am ready."